Table Mountain hosts over 2,200 plant species, more than the entire British Isles, making it one of the planet's most diverse floral hotspots. Do you know Pilanesberg National Park sits inside an ancient, eroded volcanic ring structure, a sunken magma chamber that now cradles elephants, rhinos, and elusive pangolins? The Cape Winelands cradle the Cape Floral Kingdom of South Africa, one of the world's 6 floral kingdoms, and home to over 9,000 plant species, nearly 70% of them found nowhere else on Earth. Vineyards ripple across sunlit valleys, where old oak avenues and limestone peaks frame estates that have been shaping wine and landscape for centuries. Do you know that Franschhoek's microclimate and soil patterns have produced terroirs so distinct, wineries can trace a grape's flavor to a single hillside? Here, Chenin Blanc, Pinotage, and Petit Verdot take on personalities stamped by granite, shale, and ancient alluvial deposits. Drive from Stellenbosch's oak-lined streets to Paarl's granite domes, and the change in light, scent, and vine spacing tells the story of centuries of human hands working with nature. Tasting rooms open like stages where 4th-generation vintners narrate experiments in dryland farming and biodynamic rival, connecting farm to glass. Olive groves and lavender fields whisper across farm dams, and beyond them the mountains funnel cool sea breezes that make evening harvests possible. A single estate might preserve Cape Dutch manor houses and simultaneously steward remnant Renosterveld pockets, tiny irreplaceable habitats that link vineyards back to primordial fynbosos. The wine routes are not isolated. They bleed into the Overberg, the Hottentots Holland, and even the looming silhouette of Table Mountain, a geological guardian visible from many valleys. Follow a river valley, and you are likely to stumble from a contemporary tasting to a centuries-old wagon road that once carried grapes to Cape Town's quays. As the sun sets, cellar doors glow, and the aroma of rooster koek and slow-cooked lamb mingles with fermenting barrels, reminding visitors that the winelands are a living cultural landscape. In the next segment, we'll trace how specific farms are reviving extinct vines and rewilding corridors that reconnect the vineyards to the broader Cape Floral Kingdom. Pilanesberg National Park sits inside one of the world's largest eroded alkaline volcanic complexes. Its concentric ridges sculpting lakes and savanna you rarely see elsewhere. Do you know Pilanesberg was born from eruptions more than 1 billion years ago, leaving a near-perfect ring of hills that cradle an astonishing mosaic of habitats. These ancient volcanic bones funnel rainfall into hidden pans where hippos laze and migratory birds congregate. The park's deliberate rewilding program reintroduced lions, elephants, and rhinos, stitching a modern Big Five story onto prehistoric geology. Drive between acacia-studded plains and sun-bleached basalt ridges, and you'll find waterholes that read like social calendars for wild. Each sighting is a lesson in ecological choreography. Predators, prey, and scavengers occupying a landscape shaped long before humans arrived. Pilanesberg's lakes mirror rings of dark rock, and those rings connect spatially and culturally to nearby Sun City, where luxury resorts rise beside the wilderness. That unlikely neighbor made Pilanesberg one of the few parks where conservation and tourism interlock, funding anti-poaching and community projects. Researchers track elephant movements from the central crater to surrounding communal lands, revealing corridors that sustain both animals and people. Local sand rock art and the languages of adjacent communities remind visitors that this landscape was managed long before it became a park. Night drives here reveal constellations mirrored by glowing eyes, and early mornings break with trumpeting herds framed against the volcanic silhouette. Birders find rare species that favor Pilanesberg's water-rich microclimates, turning binoculars into keys to hidden biodiversity. A short drive from Johannesburg, Pilanesberg offers safari intimacy without the remote flight logistics of more distant parks, making conservation stories accessible. That accessibility has helped fund outreach programs that restore wetlands and train rangers who patrol the park's ringed ridges. Walk with guides who know where leopards prefer to rest, or where ancient geology exposes fossil clues to the park's fiery birth. Every trail links the present to deep time, leaving you with the strange feeling that you're visiting both a modern sanctuary and a prehistoric crater. When you leave Pilanesberg, the journey often continues to pilgrim sites, private reserves, or Sun City's shimmering pools, each place a chapter in a larger landscape narrative. Together, they tell a story of restoration, tourism, and the fragile balance between natural spectacle and human influence. Knysna Heads guard one of the planet's rare coastal estuary systems, where deep sea meets a sheltered lagoon. Do you know the Garden Route lies within the Cape Floristic region, the world's smallest but richest floral kingdom? Drive east along the N2, and the landscape melts from sandstone cliffs into ancient indigenous forest. Here, Tsitsikamma's Storms River Suspension Bridge crosses a gorge carved by relentless ocean power. Follow the shoreline to Plettenberg Bay, where dolphins weave through kelp beds and migrating whales lumber offshore. The Rubberg Peninsula preserves dunes, seals, and a fossil-studded coastline that reads like chapters of Earth's history. Wilderness National Park unfolds a mosaic of lakes, reed beds, and rolling fine moss, connected to the sea by narrow estuaries. Across the water, Knysna's Featherbed Nature Reserve reveals hidden caves, bird colonies, and a microclimate unique to the heads. A short inland detour brings you to Untouched and the Kango Caves, where subterranean chambers rival cathedral vaults. The semi-arid Karoo foothills that cradle Untouched contrast sharply with the coastal greenbelt, explaining the region's dramatic biodiversity shifts. In winter, southern right and humpback whales stage a coastal parade near Mossel Bay and Plettenberg's bays. Seagrass meadows and rocky reefs offshore sustain an abundance of marine life, from shy Knysna seahorses to playful Cape fur seals. The Garden Route National Park stitches these pockets into a protected ribbon, stretching from Storms River to Mossel Bay. Trails like the Otter Trail and secluded boardwalks reveal botanical treasures found nowhere else on Earth. Local communities have woven conservation into daily life, balancing tourism with habitat restoration and fine bush burn management. That fragile pact is why you can watch ancient forests, coastal lagoons, and desert Karoo lie within a single day's journey. Stay curious about the small things, microscopic lichens, endemic flowers, and dung beetles that keep the whole system humming. As you continue along the Garden Route, each bay and bend tells a different chapter of South Africa's living coastline line. By the time you reach Mossel Bay, the coastline has taught you how ocean, wind, and fire sculpt life here. And only by following the ribbon of road will you understand how these disparate landscapes are one continuous, extraordinary ecosystem. Blyde River Canyon in Mpumalanga is one of the largest green canyons on Earth and hosting a subtropical microclimate rarely found at this latitude. Do you know that Blyde River Canyon's 3 rondavells are natural pillars resembling traditional huts, sculpted over millions of years by water and weather? From the viewpoints at God's Window and Burke's Luck potholes, the river twists below in a ribbon of jade that feeds waterfalls and hidden pools. Those potholes, paradoxically, are both geological laboratories and secret reservoirs for rare amphibians and ferns. Local legends speak of ancestral spirits dwelling in the gorge, and their stories map onto the canyon's dramatic ledges and echoing amphitheaters. Botanists find ancient tree ferns and cycads clinging to cliff faces here, species that survive only where mist and shade meet. Birdwatchers count dozens of raptor species riding thermal updrafts above the escarpment, while below, otters and hippos silently patrol the river bends. Every bend opens into a new palette of ochre rock, emerald water, and unexpected life, different from the high-veld plateaus beyond. Hiking trails trace old trade routes and reveal viewpoints where light transforms the canyon from crimson at dawn to silver at dusk. Community-led ecotourism projects now buffer fragile habitats and connect visitors to local cultures that steward the land. The Blyde's green heart feels intimate and ancient, yet it also acts as a corridor linking montane forests to lowland savannas. That connection is what leads our journey onward, downriver, toward the vast wildlife plains where the Lowveld spills into Kruger's protected reaches. To truly understand South Africa's layered landscapes, you must follow the water from these cliffs into the wide, animal-rich floodplains beyond. In the next chapter, we'll trace that water and meet the creatures and communities that rely on its steady pulse. Ukalamba Drakensberg Park is one of the world's rare mountain systems where towering basalt escarpments meet high-altitude Afro-alpine grasslands, producing microclimates and species combinations found in very few places on Earth. Do you know Ukalamba Drakensberg Park preserves more than 600 San rock art sites, some panels tracing stories and rituals that span thousands of years? Walkers who follow the ridges can stand beneath the amphitheater, a dramatic cliff wall whose scale inspired local legends and frames the headwaters of rivers that carve the Lowveld and feed distant coastal plains. The Tugela Falls tumbles from that rim in multiple tiers, at times pluming into mist that nourishes fragile montane wetlands and rare cushion bogs. Those wetlands sustain endemic plants and insects that cannot survive lower down, while rocky ledges hide the secretive Drakensberg rock jumper, a bird found almost nowhere else. Reptiles like the berg adder and numerous alpine lilies add color to summer meadows, and medicinal herbs still used by local communities cling to outcrops. Beyond natural life, every valley bears traces of human passage: hunter-gatherer paintings, colonial-era drifts, and shepherd paths that knit the park to nearby villages. The park is also part of the Drakensberg Transfrontier Conservation Area, linking South Africa's highlands to Lesotho and creating corridors for wildlife and culture. Hikers can follow ancient trade routes that descend into the KwaZulu-Natal Midlands, where fertile slopes give way to rolling farmlands and craft communities. Water that begins as a mountain seep in the Drakensberg will eventually power sugar plantations and sustain estuaries along the Indian Ocean, binding highland secrets to the coast. Seasonal changes are dramatic. Winter snows can dust the peaks, while midsummer thunderstorms sculpt new waterfalls and flush the grasslands with life. Photographers come for the light along serrated ridgelines, but scientists arrive to study isolated populations and the park's role as a climate refuge. Conservation here is urgent and intimate, ranging from fire management that mimics ancestral burning patterns to community projects reviving traditional medicines tied to specific slopes. Each conserved valley protects not just species but stories, so the Drakensberg remains as much a living cultural archive as a geological wonder. Augrabies Falls in South Africa is one of the world's rarest contrasts, where the Orange River hurls itself into an arid granite chasm, carving a moonscape that supports pockets of lush life. Do you know Augrabies Falls takes its name from a Kwaiko phrase meaning place of great noise, and its thunder can be heard almost like distant artillery across the desert. Here the summer floods overwhelm the channel, turning placid stretches into cataracts that spray rainbows across rust-red cliffs. In the dry months, the river slows, revealing giant potholes and sculpted bedrock that tell a millennia-long story of water and stone. Vegetation grows in impossible niches. Aloes, succulents, and riverine reeds find footholds in cracks where moisture lingers. That micro-ecosystem supports rare birds like the black eagle and secretive mammals such as dassies and klipspringer, specialized to the harsh terrain. Local Kwaikoi and San stories speak of spirits living in the spray, an oral map stitched to geological truth. Park rangers point out fossilized ripples and ancient river terraces that reveal how climate once reshaped this landscape. Walk the rim, and the roar becomes a physical presence, but step onto the lower trails, and you discover calm pools reflecting copper cliffs. Those pools hide fish adapted to sudden floods and dry spells, a lesson in survival, written in scales and timing. At dawn, mist rising from the gorge wraps the cliffs in soft light, and the colors shift from ochre to molten gold. By night, the canyon's cold air traps the stars close, so the spray and sky seem to meet in a dome of silence and light. Scientists study Augrabies for its unique microclimates, where desert and riverine worlds collide and create pockets of endemism. That collision also shaped human lives. Ancient trails follow the Orange River toward Namaqualand and the Atlantic, linking the falls to wider journeys. Cape Point's cliffs plunge into the ocean with a geological drama that makes it one of the steepest coastal drop-offs on Earth. Ancient granite and sandstone layers folded over millions of years create a braided pattern of ridges and gullies that few coastlines can match. Wind here sculpts the fine bows into low, contorted shapes and carries salt that etches the rock faces like a timekeeper. From the old lighthouse, you can watch waves curl and crash as ships once navigated by charts and courage skirted this capricious junction of oceans. This is where seabirds wheel in frantic flocks and where whales pass on offshore highways that glow with plankton at night. Beneath the surface lies a rich marine mosaic of kelp forests, rocky reefs, and hidden caves that shelter life unseen from the headland above. Local guides will tell you that Cape Point is not just a single promontory, but a meeting place where currents collide and creatures converge these days. Those same guides often lead visitors onwards to the Cape of Good Hope and the penguin colonies of Boulders Beach, linking dramatic scenery with intimate wildlife encounters. Walking the winding paths from the point towards False Bay reveals sudden vistas where sunlight ignites the sea into 1,000 metallic shards. At dusk, fishermen haul nets and the horizon smolders as migratory birds settle into the last warm breezes of the day. Conservation efforts here are fragile victories, balancing tourism with protection for endemic plants and nesting sites for endangered seabirds. Each boardwalk and sign is part of a promise to future visitors who will arrive expecting spectacle, but leave changed by intimacy. In the coming minutes, we'll travel from these wind-swept heights down to the sheltered coves where tide pools whisper ancient stories. Soon, you'll truly see why sailors feared it. Tsitsikamma National Park protects one of the world's rare stretches where indigenous temperate forest plunges directly into the Indian Ocean. Do you know Tsitsikamma's name comes from a Khoisan phrase meaning place of abundant water, and that its coastal forests hold ancient yellow wood giants? Cross the storm's river mouth, Suspension Bridge, and you stand where cliff, river, and sea meet in a single thundering spectacle. Hike a section of the world-famous Otter Trail, and you move from moss-draped forest straight onto windswept headlands in a matter of hours. Offshore kelp forests and rocky reefs nurture dolphins, seasonal whales, and an array of intertidal life that make these shores botanically and biologically dense. Heavy winter rains and a mosaic of rivers have carved deep gorges here, creating microclimates that shelter rare ferns and shade-loving plants. Keep your eyes in the canopy for samango monkeys and follow quieter trails to find Cape bushbuck slipping between trunks. The human story is layered too, from Khoisan footsteps to shipwrecks along the treacherous coast and the stories of early foresters who worked these woods. For the adventurous, kayaking into sea caves Walking canopy routes and tackling multi-day hikes reveal hidden coves and panoramic viewpoints. Tsitsikamma is part of the Greater Garden Route National Park, a vital corridor that links coastal ecosystems to the inland Knisna forests. From the storm's river mouth, the coastline unfurls toward Knisna and Pilanesberg Bay, each turn folding new habitats and communities into the landscape. Small fishing villages, handcrafted markets, and rugged lighthouses punctuate the journey, offering cultural threads that connect people to the sea. Smell the salt and fine boughs. Listen for the crash of surf, and at night, look up to find a sky unblemished by city light. Few visitors realize that close to the high tide line, you can find fossilized shell beds and traces of ancient shorelines. Nestled on the slopes above the city, Bo-Kaap's rainbow-hued terraces trace a living map of Cape Town's multicultural history. Originally settled by enslaved people from Southeast Asia in the 18th century, its streets still pulse with the rhythms of Cape Malay culture. Every brightly painted house is more than decoration. It is a declaration of identity and resilience handed down through generations. Spice-scented kitchens and mosque calls anchor daily life here, preserving recipes and rituals that connect modern residents to their ancestors. Walk past rows of serrated rooftops and you'll find tiny stoops where grandmothers roll out roti and explain family histories with a laugh. The aroma of cinnamon, cardamom, and toasted coconut seems to rise from the cobbles themselves, as if the neighborhood were one large simmering pot. Local guides will point to a mosque, a bakery, and a museum tucked into narrow lanes, each doorway unfolding a chapter of survival and creativity. Murals and community projects keep memory alive, transforming personal stories into public art that challenges what the tourist gaze expects. Bo-Kaap's compactness makes it intimate, but its influence radiates across Cape Town, shaping cuisine, language, and festivals citywide. From its verandas you can glimpse Table Mountain's shadow, a silent reminder of the landscape that cradles this neighborhood. That proximity connects Bo-Kaap to other sites we just visited, from the bustling markets to the colonial facades we explored earlier. Table Mountain National Park protects one of the world's smallest yet richest floral kingdoms, the Cape Floral Kingdom, home to thousands of endemic species found nowhere else on Earth. Do you know Table Mountain's sandstone summit acts as a giant natural water catchment, feeding springs and creating microclimates that sustain rare orchids and tiny fine moss pockets? The park stretches from the city skyline to the windswept cliffs of Cape Point, linking urban life to ungated coastline in a single protected ribbon. Ancient fine moss carpets the slopes with proteas, areas, and restios that have adapted to thrive on nutrient-poor soils and frequent fires. Hidden valleys cradle seasonal streams and endemic orchids that bloom only after winter rains, making each visit unexpectedly different. Hikers and climbers follow routes that thread historic cableway stations, colonial forts, and traces of Khoi heritage etched into the landscape. From the plateau, you can spot seals on offshore rocks and migrating whales in winter beyond False Bay, a reminder of land and sea in constant dialogue. The park's geology records over 500 million years of Earth history in its tilted sandstone and shale layers, visible to anyone who looks closely. That green ribbon leads visitors toward limestone caves and the penguin colonies at Boulders Beach, where land meets ocean life in surprising ways. Local guides tell stories of shipwrecks and hidden freshwater springs that once determined settlement and survival on this rugged peninsula. Birdsong in the scrub includes sunbirds, sugarbirds, and endangered booted eagles that nest on cliff ledges, each species tied to a particular plant community. Every year, the mountain regenerates after fires, an evolutionary heartbeat that germinates seeds stored underground for decades and renews biodiversity. Walking these slopes feels like moving through a living museum, where each plant and rock has an origin story that reaches far beyond the city. Table Mountain National Park is not just a backdrop for Cape Town. It is the ecological spine that links the metropolis to the wider Cape Peninsula, and its secrets lead us onward toward Cape Point. Stay with us as we trace that green spine to the southern tip of Africa and reveal the species and stories that exist only along this narrow coastal corridor. Kgalagadi Transfrontier Park harbors one of the world's last strongholds of black-maned Kalahari lions, stalking across rust-red dunes and ancient dry riverbeds. Do you know, Kgalagadi's dry riverbeds can erupt into teeming waterways after rare rains, attracting tens of thousands of migratory birds and turning this place of thirst into a temporary oasis. The name Kgalagadi comes from Tswana and roughly means place of thirst, yet this seeming desert pulses with life where few expect it. Vast territories stitched across South Africa and Botswana make the park a sanctuary where predators and prey trace the same invisible highways for generations. Lithic red dunes, salt pans, and thornveld sweep together into an open theater where every animal move can be read for miles. Lions with coal dark manes, golden brown gemsbok, and the ghostly silhouette of bat-eared foxes all tell a story of survival written in sand and sun. The park's scale forces animals into epic migrations and territorial dramas unlike those in denser savannas, creating confrontations that shape populations in real time. It's a place where conservationists monitor pulse events, rain, migration, mating, that can decide a species' future in this corridor of life. For travelers, Kgalagadi is less about big crowds and more about patient, quiet observation and the odd, astonishing sightings that will rewrite what you thought a desert could be. Stay with us, and you'll move from the red dunes to the silent riverbeds and across the border into Botswana, following the lines animals have drawn for centuries. We will meet the black-maned males that define this place, the scavengers that keep the balance, and the tiny plants that explode into color after rain. You'll learn how human history and predator pathways have braided together here, shaping a conservation story that stretches across borders. Prepare for moments that feel impossible. A flamingo flock on a desert pond, a coalition of males moving across ridgelines, a starfield that seems to pour into the dunes. This is Kgalagadi, stark, generous, and stubbornly alive in ways few landscapes on Earth can match. Sani Pass climbs from roughly 450 meters in the Drakensberg foothills, forming one of the steepest and most dramatic drivable mountain passes on Earth. Do you know Sani Pass hosts what is often called the highest licensed pub in Africa, perched near 2,800 meters where travelers trade stories as clouds roll beneath their boots. The road is a ribbon of rough shale and stone that snakes up razorback ridges, erased each winter beneath snow and spindrift. Local Basotho herders still navigate these heights on horseback, guiding flocks along ancient routes that predate the gravel track. For generations, Sani Pass was more than a shortcut. It was a lifeline between valleys, where goods, news, and lives were carried through weather that could turn in an hour. Today, four-wheel drives grunt and grind upward, yet anyone who reaches the top encounters the same thin air hush and wide sky that greeted earlier travelers. Tiny alpine flowers cling to cracks in the rock, blooming in colors that seem too vivid against the gray stone, while rare raptors ride the thermals. Geologists point to dramatic folding and uplift here, the Drakensberg's backbone revealed, while pockets of ancient sediment hint at climates long past. At the summit, the border crossing is a study in contrast. Barbed wire and passports tucked alongside a landscape that feels otherworldly. Drivers pause at the Sani top for a hot drink, not only for warmth, but for the ritual of swapping maps, warnings, and local weather tiles before the descent. Descending toward KwaZulu-Natal, the land opens into rolling grasslands and scattered farms, underlining the pass's role in linking highland isolation with coastal trade. Rock art along the approaches whispers of San and early Bantu presence, handprints and hunting scenes sheltered in natural alcoves. From the quartz sandstone crown of Table Mountain overlooking Cape Town to the otherworldly, star-swept expanses of the Karoo, this land stitches dramatic landscapes into one living tapestry. Every coastline, fall valley, and canyon holds an unexpected secret, from the submerged kelp forests that feed otters to the thermal springs hidden in the Highveld. We have traced the route from the wine-soaked slopes of the Cape Winelands through the emerald tunnels of the Garden Road and into the cavernous depths of the Kango Caves. That journey carries us northward, across the Little Karoo, into the towering escarpments of the Drakensberg, and then east into the elephant-rich bushveld of Kruger. Along the Blyde River Canyon, The panorama reveals geological chapters written in cliffs and waterfalls, while the wild coast keeps delivering unbroken surf, ancestral villages, and stories older than any map. Robben Island reminds us that the landscape is inseparable from the human struggle and triumphs that have shaped this nation's soul. Wherever you look, there are surprising edges, ghostly quiver trees in the arid north, rare fine-bow species blooming only on slender mountain ridges, and secret lagoons sheltering endemic birds. These places connect not just by road or water, but by the currents of history, climate, and culture that move people, animals, and plants together in an intricate choreography. If you've been surprised by anything in this story, let it be that such extreme diversity can live within a single country's borders, inviting explorers to keep turning stones and opening doors. So go, follow the rivers, climb the ridge lines, listen to the coastal winds, and carry these hidden wonders with you. South Africa waits with more to reveal than any single visit can contain.